Joanna Garzilli. You're watching Life Stories. Today, my guest is Beate Scholz, celebrity yoga teacher. Beate, welcome to Life Stories.
Oh, thank you so much, Joanna, for the beautiful introduction and for having me here on the show today.
And you are this radiant light. So where did you grow up?
I grew up in Holland, in the southern part of Holland, in a little tiny village called Vught. And it was very progressive, even though it was very small. And that's where I spent my childhood and went to school before I came to the States.
And in what way was it progressive?
It was very open-minded. I was very fortunate being in the family that was very open-minded and very much into introducing me to a lot of different cultures, different people, diversity and all of that from a very young age, actually. Yeah.
Do you have brothers, sisters?
I do. I have two brothers, and they're both younger than I am, so I'm the older sister. Yeah.
And what was your favorite subject at school?
I would have to say that was history and geography. I would find myself dreaming where I would travel to, looking at a globe or a big map, and also art. Yeah, very much. Yeah. And languages too. Should really add that too.
How many languages do you speak?
Speak in American terms 4. I would say myself fluently 3. French, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very good. So, as a child, did you know what you wanted to do when you were grown up?
I did, but there were different phases to my life. So when I was young, I really felt the call to work with people, especially children, to be in the medical field, which I did for a short while.
In what capacity?
I became an RN. Yeah, I went to school to become into the medical field, also a bit of physical therapy, although I didn't complete that. But then my mom became very ill when I was 16, and I guided her out. She was diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer, and in those days that was really not treatable, unfortunately. So as I was going through my own training and in the hospital all the time, I was also there with her. So after 2 years, she passed away when I was just 18. I had to get away from that. I couldn't be in that environment any longer. So I switched careers and moved away out of Holland to Germany. And I decided to go into a lighter business, the business of fashion. And that was originally just, some modeling gigs and then eventually more. So, yeah.
Where were you in Germany?
I first was in a place called Coburg, which is at that time was almost on the border with Eastern Germany, just north of Nuremberg. That's where I went to another school for Gestalt and for movement, and that led to me meeting people that were in Düsseldorf, and then I moved to Düsseldorf, which is pretty much like a hub for clothing and for fashion and for trade shows. So that's where I had the opportunity to start to get acquainted with that and being asked for modeling gigs. Yeah.
So how did you get out to America? I always have Airplane, the movie Airplane, in my mind of, you're going to say you got on a plane. Anyway, how did you get out here?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I was living and working in Germany for this clothing company. And in Germany, as well as in most European countries, we have these long paid vacations. So I knew that 5 weeks were coming. And I had a friend who was living in LA at that time. She was house sitting in Bel Air. And she said, Beate, if you want to come to LA, now's a really good time. I'm staying in a very sweet house, so you should try and make your way over here. And I did. And I told my boss at that time that I would take a 4-week trip to LA. And he said, that's terrific. We have a sister office in LA as well. It's in Torrance. We'd love for you to meet the sales team there. And would you be open to spend 2 days of your vacation to be at the sales meetings there? And I said, I'm honored to. Yes, absolutely. Delighted. So.
And what was the best thing about working in the fashion industry for you?
The best thing was that I was surrounded by clothes, by beautiful colors, by all the things that I love. I was basically working in my hobby. You know, I was doing things I would do anyway and was getting paid for it.
What was the worst thing about working in the fashion industry?
The schlepping, heavy bags, carrying, packing, you know, standing in rainy Germany at airports with large garment bags and things to move around to the next show. As a team we did it, but nevertheless it was involving a lot of physical labor as well. So it wasn't the glamorous side of it.
So
yeah.
How did you transition and move into yoga?
Yeah, I know. Well, that took a while because when I first started here, I was moved out by this company and I went to LA, worked for a company, eventually opened my own showroom. It's kind of like an agency where you represent other designers' clothing lines. So you're the link between the store and between the designer and the store, so that their product actually ends up in the stores and on the shelves. And
How many brands were you representing?
At one point, I was probably representing close to 15 different brands. It was always in between 10 and 15. I had a showroom in downtown LA. I had a team of people there. Eventually, I opened up a showroom in New York and in Dallas as well. So I had a really, you know, national company that was an agency for these clothing designers, and I was very involved in collaborating with the designers, involved with the way the line was merchandised, the color stories. I did a lot more than just the sales aspect of it. So it was very creative, it was very fun. Yeah.
And then yoga came into your life.
How? Oh yes, that was the question. How did that come? Exactly, I forgot. I was so interested in you know, retelling that story. What happened was in 2008 we had the crash of the economy, and my business had always increased steadily every time we were increasing numbers. We were adding on lines as well as people to work with. And then the crash came, and within about 3 months or so, about 60% of all our accounts went out of business, closed their stores. There was this incredible, you know, it was a massive fallout. And also the department stores that we were working with were shrinking their buyers and their buying teams, and some of them were formerly in LA, but then they decided to only be in New York. So it was a huge change, and suddenly I found myself worried of how I was going to keep all this going with the overhead and the expenses and the employees, and it was no longer needed for the shrinking business that I had. So I suffered some great losses in those years. 2009 and 10 were very difficult, where you ask the question, is it even worth it? What do I do? Luckily, my kids were getting older, so it was also time to look at the fact that did I still need a 5-bedroom home, or, you know, was it time to let go of that? So I was struggling. There was an enormous amount of stress in my life and questions of how do I continue? And somebody told me that there was a yoga studio in LA and that I should consider taking yoga. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to do yoga. That sounds so boring. And then in LA, that's where I work. You know, no, I'm not. And they said, no, really try it. It's called Peace Yoga Gallery. It's downtown. And the person who teaches there, she's as passionate with 6 students or in a class of 60 people. So you should really try. And I thought, wow. This is really a tough, you know, it's tough for me to commit to that. But okay, maybe in January I'll try. You know, one of those things, you have a New Year's resolution. Well, January came around, and on January 3rd is where I set foot into this particular studio. It was exactly opposite of the building where I had my company, my showroom. And it was also, interestingly, right next to the Pattern Bar, which was always my bar that I would have, happy hour cocktails. So instead of going for a happy hour cocktail, I went to this studio and I met Sherry Ray, the owner and teacher. And she invited me to come down to her class, and we had a 2-hour practice, and I was feeling like something just happened. I need to explore what this is. What is this? Why do I feel so amazing? And she said, well, if you feel great now, come back on Thursday and you'll be flying out of here because I'll have live music. There will be an Indian woman. She'll be playing harp and harmonium, and you should come back for that. So I did, and I came back, and that person who played that night became my music teacher, as well as the fact that that night we again had a very long practice. Sherry is known for very long...
What's a long practice?
It's really like a 2-hour practice, 2.5 hours. Ashtanga base is quite strong. Wasn't quite ready for that, but I tried my best. I was always an athlete, so I kind of did what I could. And I remember going into a bridge pose and then a wheel pose, Urdhva Dhanurasana. And I did this, and she helped me. And as I came down, or actually as I came up, I just felt something like physically popping open. And as I was guided down, tears started flooding. And there was an enormous release happening. And I knew then that I had been holding on to so many things, like even from the loss of my mom at such a young age, and then the struggle of raising 2 kids as a single mom, by the way, while I was running this business, while I was traveling. It was a lot, and it finally came out, started to come out, and I knew then that that was going to be my practice. I knew I had to come back.
So for where you're at now,
yeah,
teaching yoga consistently,
yeah,
and including many notable names
yes.
as well.
Yeah.
So what's your vision for the future in terms of the reach that you have?
For me, myself personally, or for the yoga community at large?
For you and through what you do with yoga.
Yeah. Well, as I experienced myself, that yoga can be the beginning of an enormous transformation where we're not just, we're letting go of things. We're starting to see who we truly are, as well as the body improves, things fall away, you change your lifestyle, you change your food habits, everything.
So who would you say you are?
Well, I'm no longer that person that was, running that business. I'm now a person who is far more in touch with my own feelings. I feel like even though the challenges are still there, I can handle them so much better because I've been given the tools. And this didn't come just overnight. This is from, years of practicing every day. Also started a mantra practice and chanting, and all this combined because there's so much more to yoga than just the postures, the asanas. So the yoga philosophy really helped me to start to discover things about myself and to be able to be more in a state of grace, gratitude for what we have each and every day, and for receiving the blessings rather than looking at the negative things.
What's a mantra that has really accelerated transformation in your life?
Yes. The mantra that was given to me by my guru. Yeah.
Can you
Do you want me to share it?
Yes.
Om Shri Maha Lakshmiye Namaha is the mantra to the goddess Lakshmi. And Lakshmi is my Ishta Devata, which is my, you have in the Bhakti tradition, you have one god or deity that you feel most connected with. For me, it's Lakshmi, the goddess of all things good, prosperity, beauty, health, prosperity and abundance in all realms, where so many times people think money right away, but it's not that at all. It is feeling abundant in yourself, in the connection to your inner divine light. Yeah.
So that leads me to 5 people who are the wind beneath your wings.
Okay.
And for leading you to what you're doing in the bigger picture for your legacy.
Definitely my guru Amma, who I don't speak to every day in a personal sense, but I'm with her. I feel her energy, and I see her usually once a year when she comes to LA and receive darshan from her. On a far more personal level here in LA, it would be Michael Bernard Beckwith, who I see as my Satguru, my teacher, my spiritual leader. I go to Agape whenever I can, and I learn so much each and every time from this amazing teacher, this wise guide, and just incredible. And also from Govindas, the founder of Bhakti Yogashala. I find him to be a truly authentic yoga teacher without ego, sharing so much wisdom. I learn so much from him each and every time. Yeah. And then on a personal level, it is my 2 soulmates, Sophie, my best friend, who I have a deep soul connection with. I met her 3 years ago, complete fluke, but we are very, very together, and she understands me and I understand her. We share a lot. We would always joke before I met my beloved that if we were both, gay, it would be so easy because we would be so happy together, because we love spending time together. We can be, chatting for 24/7. And then this beginning of this year, I met a beautiful man named Frank, and he is my love, and I feel he is there for me in so many ways. I feel supported by him, his love, his compassion, his patience with me, trying to do a lot of different things because I'm very driven. And I know that I'm going to do some big things, and he's sort of, trying to keep up with me, so that's great. Yeah. And the kids, of course. How can my kids not be my inspiration? They are here, they're teaching me lessons, have taught me a lot of lessons. And really, also my parents, even though they're not in the body, they're here with me. And when I look back, they shared so much of their wisdom with me. Interestingly enough, they would not have qualified themselves as spiritual. In fact, they were atheists, my father was. But they did. They always gave me such good lessons, life lessons, morals. It was amazing.
And my last question to you is, what has been your greatest life lesson, understanding of your existence?
My greatest life lesson is that you never should give up. That even when things look a little dark and bleak, just reach into that divine light that you have within you. Tap into it with any type of practice that you do, whether it's meditation, yoga, an amazing trip to a country that you haven't been to, and just be in awe of where we are and how blessed we are to be in this world. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm Joanna Garzilli. You're watching Life Stories. Today, my guest was Beate Sophia Scholz. Thank you for watching. Tune in next time.